Okay, recording started. Let's see what we got. How's you guys' weekend going so far? Buenos dias. Yeah, I probably should have a background, but I always have something going on the computer, so I don't really get a chance to look at it. So we'll see what goes on here. We'll see what goes on here. Good afternoon. What's up? What's up? So let's have a look here. Okay. 16th of April. Look at this. So what do we notice first? Are we bullish or bearish from our higher time frame? Okay. Internal or external? As in, do we expect this high to go? Or do we expect this flip to have just traded back into here and now we're looking at this being death? Okay. Fair value gap. Okay. Okay. So we'll look pretty much immediately, our eyes would gravitate towards this. Right? Obviously snapped above this. Even if you look at it from a higher time frame and you consider it being that high or this, like starting, whatever. Strong push. And now we're retracing back in, and those of you guys that still use, you know, our Wombo, let's just do 65% retracement. Well, we're right inside of the pocket right now. Happy days. Right? Cool. That makes sense. If we were looking at the midpoint, obviously, was respected. And then we've now got this strong movement going on. Tapping into this area that made a major decision. Specifically, we're looking at this rectangle. Right? So the mode of operations essentially goes, if we're going to be expansionary, we want to see either a flip or this area hold, which is then going to generate a flip. We either look at the midpoint, which aligns with this manipulation leg, so this candle. Right there. We want that to hold. And you see that there was a lot of buying pressure that came in, but it wasn't able to generate anything. And we use the 15-minute for that, for this exact reason. Several attempts to create a valid low internally here. Had this created one, we would have been gone above this high. Make that actually accurate. Had that worked. We then swept more liquidity, creating or attempting to create a valid low, but this candle wasn't structural. We're inside of a range here. So all the buying pressure failed to achieve anything. So if we're aggressively inside of here taking longs, it's got to achieve something. The failure to do so means we're going lower. Okay. Now we can certainly look at this lower time frame. Not exactly strong. Right? We spiked down, we actually traded sideways. We had a little bit of a drop here, base, drop, base, that at least makes us pause. But we want to see some sort of a flip and then trade back in. Ideally, right? So the first flip, you've got a little bit of a equal low situation here. Actually, that's not equal lows. That did sweep it out by a couple of ticks. Okay, that's even better. Beautiful stuff. We'll zoom it ahead a little bit till about 9:25. And that's to give some of you guys the new video idea as well. I think actually the 16th, you guys will see this in the new video that comes out today too. I think this was the week that I did backtesting for it. Okay, so 921, cool. Strong push away. Potential manipulation underneath this. We're inside of our major area of interest as well from that 15-minute time frame. We want to see a flip, right? Otherwise, we're just looking at this being continuing to go down. We expect a flip. Why? Because there's multiple attempts at reversing the trend. But we're not trying to predict price. So we'll zoom this ahead a little bit further. As you can see, nothing doing, despite all the attempts in the world, at least so far. Okay? So what we got? We've got 50 minutes spiking down. Happy. Okay. Bears are certainly happy from this accumulation. It's now unwinding. We still have a high that's not credible. We still have a high that's not credible. So if we get that 50-minute sweep, we could get a nice little rally. We're bullish still, even with this. And the reason is because, not because of this, that's fair. This is kind of implied SMT where I almost guarantee that ES took that low. But this major flip was generated from this huge overnight move, or at least London move. We're now retracing back into it. We're expecting higher prices, which gives us a bit of a lens. Even with this sharp movement down, we're not exactly looking at this going, this is just going to be catastrophic. And at worst, we just don't get involved. I'm stalking a reversal because of this, not because I want to be buying any bearish move that goes on. Okay, so here's 930. Opening, cool. Yeah, so first idea will be that aggressive 930 long. And you'll find that these volatile movements as well. So those of you guys that like to trade aggressively, what are you looking for? You're looking for a CSD and then tapping back into where? Right? So we're inside of our area of interest. We can get rid of this now. Get rid of that now as well. I think we'll get rid of that and that. Cool. We're looking at, if we close above, we look at this. For the same reason that we had 15-minute objectives here, right? So this breaker stabs into it. We're getting our 15-minute sweep and fail, at least so far. Excuse me. Right? And this actually would have tapped into this candle here and given you a nice movement as well. So the personality of the chart is something as well to be looking at, where every one of these we tap into, we get some response. Right? So why would that not happen on a lower time frame? Okay? But we want to see some sort of closure. We haven't got that yet. Could you justify an inversion trade here? Possibly. I would want to see that CSD in the first couple of minutes. But it looks so far that our bias was correct in terms of looking for higher prices. Now, could you justify this candle here? Maybe. Right? I usually like the top of the manipulation legs, but I think the true breaker is this here. $52, $53, $54. Speed this up slightly. Okay, do we get any sort of tap back into this? And where's our target? Ideally, this consolidation, returning to equilibrium. It very well could take this liquidity and then dump. We'll see. I know some of you guys would have been interested in this long already, and that's fair. Getting your retracement. This is aggressive, obviously, for the same reason that we're looking at this breaker here. You'd have this one now. That actually would have given you 30 points too. I'm going to wait for something a little bit more conclusive. $9.34. Okay. This is interesting here. Okay, so let's pause. Who likes to trade more of the aggressive standpoint, where you're trading in here for this high? What do we want to see? We got our 5. Here's your 5 minutes so far. Right? We want to see a closure above that for sure. Right? What else do we have? There's your 15 so far. Right? We need a closure above this on our 15-minute time frame. So let's mark that out as well. And this is kind of our multi-time frame analysis, isn't it? We've already achieved our objectives on the 1 minute. Haven't we? Our 1 minute flipped, which has generated a movement up. We're looking for trading back in, ideally to this area, which is then going to facilitate a movement up to where? Ideally the 5 minute. Which is then facilitating a movement all the way up to our 15 minute. That's probably, well, I don't really know where that candle is. Probably that one right there. There's your 15 minute CSD. Right? So on and so forth. If one of them fails, then we look for a flip the other way. Ideally. Right? So let's keep going. Who's looking for a long here right now? Or are we waiting for 9:45, 9:50? Who's getting in way too early in this and getting stopped out as this drops underneath this low? And be honest. If you're in too early, usually it's either you're trading aggressively with price action and the objectives haven't been hit yet, or you're not understanding what sort of candlestick narrative is going on, right? So where's the liquidity right now? It's underneath this low. This very well could fail underneath here, right? Very well could. We've taken that high, we then failed lower. But you'll notice as well that we have not stabbed into this. We consider this to be an objective. Does that mean that we can't sweep and fail here and just go? I think if this candle ends up being bullish, you've got a pretty interesting idea, right? Now, if this is bearish, fine. If this sweeps liquidity and then flips bullish, then we're really, really happy, right? But we're looking at objectives, which gives us the high priority, or high probability, I should say. That's not suggesting that we can't move, right? And if we're looking at it from a reversal standpoint, then we've got no real fair value gaps to invert, right? We might get something that takes us on the way down. You could look at this perhaps. I know we want that one to hold for sure, right? But essentially what we're trying to determine right now is what our hourly is going to do and what our 15 minutes is going to do based off of this order flow. Okay. Ninja Trader backtesting. Man. So we've now stabbed into our objective, speaking of. This candle closed bearish. Not good. Right? We're looking at this area of interest and we want this candle to hold. Should it hold, this is sort of your aggressive trade, which you're expecting this to continue supporting price, especially this breaker, right? So we'll take an aggressive long here, just off of this. But essentially we're looking at it stabbing into this here and respecting price. and we'll treat this as a swing. So we're essentially looking at this for an idea. Right? Now, the far more conservative idea would be to wait for this candle or the next candle or whatever one actually shows some sort of bullish price action. And if we get that, then we have a lot more probability, because right now we're buying a falling knife potentially, expecting this to support price based off of the decisions that it's made. I mean, okay, that's ideal. If this ends up like closing in the middle of this is a really volatile day. Holy crap. In terms of an hourly edge, I think we've ran both the high and the low of the hourly area of interest. Right? But we'd be looking at expansion as well. So I think the 15-minute CSD, assuming we close above this. Actually, our 5 has just closed inside. We don't have any sort of flip, but it's definitely an area of concern. We're expecting this to support price. If this ends up closing bearish, then we've got a different decision to make. Maybe we want to see it. We want to see it bounce from here. Okay, obviously good. We'll look to do an add if we trade lower than trade through. And that will be sort of the conservative way of looking at this. Right? We've got the area of price that's being supported where it needs to. Not just here in the middle of nowhere because of a candle. Right? That's a pretty decent idea for this high, and then you're looking beyond. And we'll see what ends up going on. We're not nervous or scared in this. Why? Because we have a very clear idea of what needs to happen for the bearish standpoint. We've got our sweep and fail here. Cool. Closed above. Or below, sorry. Right? Otherwise, we'd have some sort of weak price action going on here. We're actually getting consecutive bullish candles, which should lead to this high being taken, assuming that that continues. I think I'm going to go break even now. I don't expect it to trade back in. And we're looking for that 15-minute CSD spot. Okay, so obviously this trade's working out. That's happy days. We've taken that high. What do we need to see right now in order to bail out of this position? And why does that help? Valid high, okay. What's a major early warning sign? Double top and push away, right? Yeah. If it closes above, how happy are we? And quite often, we will see things like this, where it sweeps and now we're concerned that this is going to be a double top. And that's a valid concern, right? So it's 938, we're closing above, cool. So now what are we looking at? Trading back down would be our expectation. Probably this area here. Specifically this SNDR that then sent us above this high. This was bearish on a lower time frame. It's now flipped bullish. Right? So if we get a pullback, it would be something like this. And then we would expect higher. Until what? The exact same thing goes over again, right? Double top or some sort of failure. This is actually a valid zone. You had a high here. We broke structure. You have a high, a valid pullback, closing underneath the last structural bullish candle. We then closed above that high. That makes that a protected low. Right? So we expect it to be supported, whether it trades back down into this, whether it sweeps this candle and continues on, which is strong too. There'll be multiple opportunities to scalp. Nobody's looking at this. Right? Is that better? Is that worse? Is that better? Right? I don't even know what that is. Oh, it's pips. There you go. Who's nervous right now, even just backtesting? There was an interesting, one of our older members commented on Twitter how you deal with emotional control and essentially revenge trading or just whatever comes up when you're in positions or when you take losses or whatnot. And for me, that's habits. That's one of the major reasons we backtest. It's not because we want to make paper money, right? So if you're looking at this and you're like, well, we've just given back 30 points. Backtesting, you might go, well, I gave back 30 points and I don't care. And then in a real setting, giving back 30 points is akin to, throwing your computer out the window. Well, that's not good, right? We fall back on our habits. So if you have a habit during market hours of getting out emotionally, getting back in emotionally, taking a loss, all the things that go on, and believe me, I've been there, then we need to form habits of what exactly we want to see in order to get out. This is obviously not ideal, and yet I'm still holding to this. This very well could CSD take me out and then dump underneath this low, right? So what are we holding to? What's our habit that we're trying to form? It's a mixture of a few different things, isn't it? So I personally have a habit of continually reminding myself exactly what I want to see. Yeah, that's a trade in itself, isn't it? There's your valid high. What happens if we can't create a valid high? Yeah, higher is right. Right? So it's not the absence of probability that this is just going to drop. Maybe there's 9:45 news on this day. Maybe there's whatever. But it's having that exact reason for bailing out of a position. And if that's not met, you're still involved. And we're holding to target for once, aren't we? Right? So create the habit in your backtesting of following your rules and your strategy. It'll make it a lot easier during the volatile market hours. Obviously, I want this to just be parabolic and run to target. And that'll be the exact same tomorrow. Right? But so far, our mode of operations is we haven't created a valid high. The market's trying to sell off. It can't just yet. Whether it succeeds after or not, who knows? Right? Our 5-minute is closed above. Is this violent or lethargic? Lethargic. That's additional information, isn't it? That we're all processing. So why is that important? It's important because we've got our 5-minute CSD now, right? Even though this closed wherever it did in here, it's still closed above this. So our 5-minute's pointing higher. Our 1-minute started pointing higher as of this candle here, closing above this manipulation. Traded back in, supporting price. Traded back in, supporting price. Do we expect this high to go? Yes. Yes, we do. But we're looking at this and going, what's the chances, right? Are we looking at this as an idea? Or are we looking at it that this trades back in, continues higher, trades back in, continues higher for however long we want? Right? We want something similar to this to continue lower until you get that strong push, which then reverses. And then everybody panics and gets out of their position here, right? So we've got that, but hopefully we're all on the same page that we think there's going to be some sort of a movement down. I'm not going to be taking it short unless it screams at us, right? But my point that we're going over is that because of how this is delivering higher, we're expecting some sort of pullback. And given what time it might happen at, which would be around 9:50, it's likely going to be pretty violent. So we keep that in the back of our minds, right? As of right now, we're still bullish. And I'm not, well, I'm still in this position, right? Should we move our stop to here? Probably. If we're swing trading this, which we are. If I was scalping, this likely would have taken this, and then I'd probably be in somewhere in here again. Okay, so same sort of idea, right? Failing here so far. What do we need to see? Where should hold, ideally? Or do we give it another candle? Like, there's no reason of getting out of this just yet, is there? Other than looking at this number. Right? What we're gauging right now is how violent the movement is away. This low, as of right now, isn't as strong as this one is, for obvious reasons. Right? So we'll see what this candle ends up doing. Right? And the reason this candle is because we want to see the response from the double top. Perfectly valid to be looking at this. Right? Should we bail? This is obviously quite strongly pushing down, but it's more than that, isn't it? Yeah, I'm going to move this up. Right? It's the response from this. We end up giving back 35 points on this move. Nasty business. And we'll see if that does us dirty or not. That's a bit of a CSD now, isn't it? This took liquidity. We now closed underneath this low, 42.25, 41.50. Consecutive bearish candles, not going to be good. We didn't hit our 15-minute CSD target either. We traded to the equilibrium, or at least I think we did. 683, 678. We actually didn't quite make it there. Didn't quite make it there. Yeah, it should take that low, and it just did. Right? This isn't structural. It's liquidity. We've now flipped. We're trading inside of a structural zone, so I'm not really interested in short. If this is a strong bearish candle, then you've got a different idea, right? But in terms of longs, I don't trade against double tops. Especially around now. So the 945 candle actually ended up closing here, which is not great. Here's your 5. Okay, so we'll see if we fail underneath here. I think with the double top, we might even pause on that and wait. There's your 15. 15-minute fail to do what? Was there a valid attempt at making a valid low? Yeah. How important is that? It's the valid attempt to do so that then fails that makes it strong. And now we flipped. Trading back down into this area of interest. Okay. Who's shorted here after seeing this, expecting this low to go? There's no shame in admitting it. I certainly have. Right? Yeah, sitting on hands is right. Sitting on hands is right. For the same reason that we waited here to get involved. We've now got a valid imbalance. Displacement through here. Okay? Is it valid to avoid shorts? Given that our flip has already happened. Right. If you're confident in your direction and you wait for failure, right? If you're confident in your direction and you wait for failure, then you're essentially taking objective to objective. Right? The 15, even for this run up, the 15 was still bearish. Right? We saw this flip, which said we're going higher. We now see this. We're determining with our confidence if we're going to trade below. And I think we take this 930 low at this point. Not because of how violent this was, but because of what it failed to do above us. Now this is obviously concerning. I think late shorts just got wrecked. Ideally, we stab up into this consolidation and we see what goes on. Those guys, like the 3 minute, you don't really have much to see here either. There's no real imbalances or anything. You're kind of looking at this maybe for an inversion. You're disregarding that wick, but... Okay, well, I think we definitely take that low now. Definitely take that low now. You could probably justify any sort of movement back up above 600. And then your stop goes above the invalidation there, just from that push. Yeah, usually if you have, like this candle closed inside of here, that's not just, you got displacement through the low, yes, but this is closing inside. So I actually see this as weakness. Right, from the bearish side, and then we blast through that gap. This closed outside of this candle, making this imbalance valid. We trade back in. If we respect it, then we make a new low, which we did. Right, so we still haven't taken the objective. We're obviously seeing some accumulation here. We very well could get clapped, but I think anything above 600, we're going to hit this for a short. Go. Stop goes above that high, and we're looking at taking at least the 930 low, which is 73.25. Now, ideally, we don't get a major closure above that, but that's not going to be that valid. We are inside of this manipulation leg, which is a counter argument to this. What I like is the urgency from this move, right? And then the lack of strong displacement afterwards. So I wouldn't want to see this fail underneath here, but there we go. Okay, happy days. We'll see where this goes. I'm not going to take any sweep longs unless we get some sort of flip that goes on right here. So that would have to close above this candle at 607. We're probably going to laugh at how far down this goes. Ooh, or not. Let's see. But again, very much sitting on my hands for longs until we get something. Not trying to catch bottoms, not taking sweep and fails. We got a lot of time for this 15-minute. A lot of time. But more importantly, we'll wait and see if we get anything conclusive. So our task essentially is to wait. Well, actually, let me back up. The first task is to be studying and backtesting to understand exactly what you want to see. Right? For me, that's a flip. For me, that's a flip. I think that if we would have got a failure underneath here and then some sort of inversion, fine. But, yeah. We'll wait and see here. But it should jump out on the screen at you for what you want to take. What do we got here? This is 679. We're at 539. So really violent move. That was like a 40, 50 point candle, wasn't it? 607 to 558. Yeah, about 50 points. Woo. Nobody cares about this. And nobody cares about any bullish movement that comes out of it if it doesn't achieve anything either. It's rounding, so you're kind of looking at this going, well, they're definitely buying, aren't they? But what do you need to see? There's your 5. Getting some violent movement back up to the SNDR at minimum. Right? You got your inversion here. We'll see if there's a small one that goes on there as well. Right? So we're looking at it from a lens of accumulation. Right? We definitely accumulated here. We failed, which sent us lower. We're not going to throw away our analysis of all of this. Right? Let's pause this. We're not going to throw away our analysis of this at all. Where we're still looking at this high getting ran. Whether or not that comes today or not, who knows? Right? Our objective failed, so we traded lower. And now we're looking to determine, right? We are bearish, obviously. We're rounding. Looks like we got a nice little pop. Okay. There's your lower time frame, sending you higher, and then the response ends up being this. Right? Had that been a stall candle, you could justify taking it higher. Right? Instead, we've got this displacement lower. So nothing jumping out on the screen from us. But what else is happening with all this? We've now mitigated everything on this movement down. Yeah. Here comes 10 a.m. So So new hourly candle will be starting. Do we know exactly what we're looking for if we get a reversal? I'm definitely not trying to pick a low here. Okay. Where would the CISD have to occur? Pretty close. I think we've taken some liquidity, but we haven't ran lower just yet. How are we looking? The chances that ES has already ran the low is probably pretty decent. Right, so we're looking at this down here at about 504. And then I think we just took that one at 511. Yeah, we did. So taking all this liquidity, okay. How much weight? I use it a lot for confirmation of bias, but it's more of an extra confluence. So you've got aggressive entry. You're essentially looking after any sort of strength that comes out of this. And the reason is because you got strong, sideways, gone, right? So gone, gone, a little bit of rounding, pop, gone. Right? And now you got this. Major difference in candlesticks. We're accumulating here. So the danger of the aggressive trade, if we're, say, looking at anything here or even above this candle or whatever, is number one, you've got to create a valid low. But number two, what if we just accumulate here and then end up running it out? That higher time frame double bottom we were talking about. That's where SMT comes in, if it's already done it or not. Right? What's a far safer idea? We get that. Trades back in, gone. Whether it takes this high or whatever. Do we have anything structural in here? That high was 16, that high was 16.25, that high was 16. So this is actually a valid zone. And yeah, you could argue we've actually traded back into it. I think that's fair. I think that's fair, right? Is this a valid zone? Yes. Right, so this is actually a structural high as well. Or another dip down to make a lower CSD. Yep, very well could. If this drives lower and makes a new low, that would be ideal. Either way, 1, 2. You could argue this will be 3, assuming we don't trade sideways. Your guys' job is to understand exactly what you're looking for in this move. Is it a smart idea to buy, say this candle closes right where it is and we make a valid low? We're buying inside of a structural zone. right? This is a bearish zone. So what you're essentially saying is that this is going to break structure this move, right? Very, very different to take this trade, say in here, off of a change in personality, expecting it to trade back up into the structural zone and then potentially continue or not. Right? We're analyzing this. We're not really happy with the amount of swings that this is taking, but this could go on for another 100 points. We have no idea. Right? So in my opinion, I think it's better, even though I like the follow through here. Right? This is a change in personality. I would expect a decent bullish push, but we're essentially buying here expecting structure to break. Right? So this looks like we're just passing on points, but I think the probability of it is better to wait, personally. Right? Even though this is working out quite nicely. Yeah, so we'll wait for some more information. We're jamming up into this. I think if this is bullish, then we fly and we wait for a pullback or something. We'll see. We'll see what we get. Okay, another bullish candle. A little bit of an attempt to sell off. Runs that high. Do we get a structure shift? Would avoid an aggressive short here even if this fails, because we have no accumulation here either. If you get strong movement away and then some sort of candlestick failure after taking that, I mean, we've closed above it now, but that would be what I wanted to see for a sort of a range-bound trade of a retracement. And again, just scalping. We've now flipped. We've now broken structure. So we're officially looking for pullbacks. Whereabouts are we looking for a pullback to? You guys looking at this gap? You guys looking at this consolidation of equilibrium? You guys looking at this movement up that should support price similar to what we did earlier? What jumps out at you guys more? But hopefully we're all on the same page that we're looking long. Okay. It did already touch your right. So follow along with price. See when you expect it to continue higher, when you expect it to continue lower, what exactly you're looking at. We'll walk through how it delivers together. So I'll do minimal talking for this, and we'll see if we can find a trade. I would not be in just yet. I think that there was a valid scalp there where Nisno's got in. And the reason is because I want to see what happens as we trade into this. So far, we're not seeing any sort of violent reaction. I'm definitely not short. Right? 607, 606 half. So we actually didn't take that liquidity yet. Yeah. So if you're aggressive in, how aggressive is your exit? Just as aggressive, right? Could this sweep here and we just create an SNDR and then run? Yeah. Absolutely we could. There's all trade-offs. If you're waiting for confirmation and waiting for confirmation and waiting for confirmation, you have less trades, but they're likely of a much higher quality. If you're aggressive by nature, then you're taking a lot more trades, and now you have to figure out when you're in a lot of trouble. In which case, you need to be studying a lot more price action to go along with those skills. So what are we looking for here? It starts with an I. We want to see them do what right now? Correct. We want to see them step in, don't we? Why? Number one, from an advanced perspective, and I don't expect you guys to really be looking at this just yet, but what's the personality of the day? Fractally. Here's your 15-minute time frame. They accumulated, they ran everybody out, right? And if this is going to run based off of this being a weak high on the higher time frame, this is how they're going to do it from a higher time frame perspective. Drop down. Right? They've now done a lot of buying. That was what we just saw on the 15, and now they've run everybody out. Fractally, what's happening now? Tons of buying. They ran everybody out. And then they flipped. So we're still looking for longs. Right? Do we want to be catching the falling knife? Could we be in here with a stop underneath, say here? Yeah, absolutely you could. That's your swing trade, which you're expecting this high. And even if your win rate's 40, 50%, you've got a very profitable system if you know what you're looking for and you're waiting. More importantly, if you're holding to target or your stop. If you're trading based off of price action and flips, which we're going to look for right now, you want to see them step in. You want to see everybody get ran out. That makes sense. They just did that here on an intermediate time frame. What are the chances they're going to do it on a lower time frame? Right? And our job is to figure out exactly what that's going to look like. It's not always going to be as clean as this. This is extremely clean on your intermediate time frame, isn't it? Clear manipulation, displaced above. We're looking for the tap back in to run. Right? This is definitely trading lower. Right? This very well could run from here. Let's actually slow this down a little bit. We'll do this in real time. What do we want for a flip? First off, who'd be in right now with this sort of inverse smiley? Or this smiley that's going on? Right? We're having a lot of trouble. So if we're going to quantify that trouble, we're looking at this low. We want that low to hold. If this closes above, fine. If not, then I'm waiting for a little bit more information. None of these highs have been taken. Right? Not one of them. There's actually been no flip that's gone on. We've stabbed into our location that sent us up in the first place. You could argue the liquidity that actually, excuse me, that actually swept that out. So you could argue that the liquidity is underneath this candle now, that 537. Right? This already dealt with that. Looks like we're going to get it. 537, 537. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. 539.25. Could we wombo that? Yeah, I'm sure we absolutely could. Oh, am I gonna miss this because of Nisnos? There you go. There's your wombo spot. Okay, we've now finally broken a high. This is your old school order flow flip. You're looking at how strong this candle is. About to CSD too? Maybe. We'd have to close above this for sure. If we do that, then we just hit it and our stop's underneath. Or you could get a little fancy and you're looking for something that essentially is moving away from your intended direction and then away it goes. Right? So like here, if this trades through this open, then away we go. And if it doesn't, then we're quite happy not getting involved, aren't we? Excuse me. Hello? Market? Hello? Oh, yeah, thanks. Thanks very much. Watch this just drop down underneath. Our stop goes here. I don't want to be out of this soon. I'm happy that it dipped back down. That was fortunate. Hello? Is this too conservative of a target based off of how violently it's moving away? Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely take, if we were in for 2, which is my typical position sizing, then we're looking at this. Cool. Should we be break even? I think if this candle closes above this one, we're break even. Right? I'm probably actually going to go break even now. Right? We didn't take this. I think that's a major area of interest. Is the highs too conservative? Or too aggressive? You know what? Let's trade this price action wise. Let's go with that 50-minute CSD that we failed earlier. 100 and whatever points higher. And we'll trade this based off of price action. How about we do that? Right? We might fail here, in which case we just have to hit the button. So why don't we follow price along and go from there? Shall we? In which case, we'll be kind of looking at whereabouts we expect this pullback, right? For the same reason we were looking at it earlier on. We actually gave back quite a few points on that, didn't we? That was nasty. So we'll see. Consolidating here, very, very nice. Okay, want to see the response of this. Expecting it to continue on higher. Right? I'm looking to see attempts to fail that can't. And if we get that, whoo, then we're quite happy. right? So I'm looking for some sort of a bearish candle that ends up stalling, something like this, right? Or like that would be ideal. If we get that bearish candle, then I'll add. But the thing that we're trying to gauge is we're looking to see the market attempt to do something. And if it fails to do that, then we've got an extremely strong move coming in, right? So like this is attempted to put in a bear bar twice from this area of interest. This one actually closed like a hammer, right? So that's like a decent probability scalp for this high at least. We're reaching for an objective. It's not stopping here, right? So we're looking at 606, not there yet. There it goes. Happy days. And we took this as well. Cool. Now what? What do we expect to happen now? Price action 101. More specifically, what happened personality-wise to the left of this after we took a high that was protected? Look at this, look at that. Do we have anything that's telling us it doesn't want to push higher yet? Right? We're taking major objectives. If we were in multiple, one of them would be off right here. And what should we be doing with this? We should be trailing our low, shouldn't we? Which I think, you know, okay, fine. Did I actually take it? Okay, well that's whatever. Thank you, Ninja. That was underneath that low, so hopefully it doesn't do us dirty. Okay, fine. What would I take this on anyway? Whatever. What happens if we fail underneath this low? Right? If there's two pushes to do so and it fails, then essentially we're either in a range or we're going to fly. And the danger of a range here is that we're now accumulating where? In a very specific spot. So we take this protected high, we then accumulate, trade back in, which we expect after taking this high. We don't expect it just to go in a rocket ship. That's why we don't buy in here. It very well could, but this is actually a decent probability short to trade back into the zone. We're now trading up. What's the significance of a range here? It's actually to run this, isn't it? So I'll see what ends up happening here. Yeah, so personality-wise, we took this high, we ranged. We've now taken this area here. If we're leaning on personality, we very well could look at some sort of a range going on. Tapped into the previous breaker, fair enough. This is a little bit different than this. Why? Okay. This mitigated as well after we flip. We closed above and then traded back into here and left. This closed above, we traded back into here and left. Right? So that's actually the same. What's different about this move than this one? Multiple imbalances? Nope. Nope, nope, nope. Anybody else care to test their idea with weather conditions? More sweeps. Did that close below? I think it might have. 925, 11. Okay, that's a valid high now. First one was a break of the previous trend. Okay, you're on the right track. You're on the right track. When do we expect violent movements to happen? Bingo. What distribution was this? Correct. What distribution is this? Correct. Correct. This is actually a valid short idea on this area that was left unmitigated to now trade back in to mitigate from your first distribution. This is now violent. This is when you expect violent. And if you get violent, we do not short in here. I don't care what it looks like. We avoid shorting in this. Right? And it will look, man, will it ever try and look like it wants to just drop? Right? How enticing is that candle to short off of? You would have made money in this, in fairness. I think that's 30 points inside of this volatility on this April 16th day. But we hold true. Our job is to be steadfast with our habits and our system while the market is chaotic around us. Because they are the best in the world at enticing you in. Speaking of, yeah. If you got a range going on in here, right? Everybody just shorted the hell out of this candle on this. They're praying to God that it holds. Yeah, absolutely could be. Right? This is internal. Like, if you're not looking at this as being sort of range bound, right? We made a valid high here, then a valid low, and now another valid high. So we're inside of a range. Right? This is not the candle you want to see.
Order filled.
This should just go. No, I'm just going to take it to the high. It's important that this didn't run that. It might have on ES. We're buying in the middle of a range, and yet the personality to me has changed. Right? We had a violent movement down. We actually attempted here, and that was a sign of strength. God. Yeah, I would probably be break even on this. Only because we're inside of a range. Hopefully it doesn't take me out before running. But again, second distribution, failing to go lower. This is high probability.
Target filled.
There we are. Very well could run this and make me look like an absolute moron. Very, very well could. All right, we'll take our, what, 18, 16 points, whatever. We'll see where this goes. Does it make us look silly? Very, very likely. You guys would probably still be in, you legends. Bullish candle, I think we just continue on. Yep. Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, that's all right. That's all right. Bank account doesn't care how much I left on the table as long as there's something on it. Right? Now a valid zone? Yeah, absolutely. Why is that important? It's important because where's our CSD right now? Our CSD is actually underneath this low at 597. So it can do whatever it wants. Whatever that it wants. Let's speed this up a little bit, shall we? Tapping into this area here, is that valid? It's probably a valid long. Right? You're looking at this sort of fractal or this important candle, giving us at least a little bit of a move. You're looking for an internal flip, ideally. Looks like we're starting to get one now, actually. Okay, so let's slow this down. Want a closure above this. Ideally, we tap back in and then we run this high. We'll slow it down, see if we get something. I'd be long now. I think you'd be valid to be long, right? I want to make sure that this continues on instead of taking this low out. I love that we accumulated and then dropped. Sweep of this, I might take an aggressive trade, but I think it's better to wait for confirmation above this high at 31. No, can't do it. Man, do I want to be long in this? I think that's fair too. You schmuck. Silk laughing at the rest of us. Oof. Oh, good recovery. Need to go now. Needs to go now. Otherwise, no bueno. If this is an inside bar, or we sweep this again, well, we're technically actually underneath it. So if we close inside of this candle, then I'm definitely going to hit this long with a stop underneath. I just don't like how we didn't take that. That's gross. Okay, so that to me, at least we take this low and then potentially this one. We'll wait and see. That's good. Need a little bit more of a lift. Notice that we haven't actually flipped. This is very, very similar to this trade in here. The difference is that we're inside of a range now, confirmed. Right? So if we get that sort of flip and then we trade it back in, we've got some bullish movement. Now if we sweep underneath this and then get a movement in, then I'll take that long. But I'm being cautious because we're inside of a range and we haven't taken this low. It's worth noting this is your protected low. I just think that there's a lot of liquidity underneath this. My guess is that if it's going to run this at all, I'm still watching to see if there's a long. But if it runs this at all, it runs these both. And then we determine if we get a closure underneath this, and then we're going to trade back down even into the 560s. Looks like we're going to get our sweep, or potentially our closure, and then we just avoid it entirely. But given that we haven't taken this higher time frame high, I'd be a little surprised if this displays lower. Okay. Aggressive trade, maybe. I think if it trades above this high, I'm gone. Sweeping a protected low.
Order filled.
Stop goes underneath. And we're looking for this. Potentially even higher. Aggressive trade needed to close. That's good. Go on, you good thing. Yeah, ranges can be fun, can't they? Right? So as soon as you identify a range, you're looking at liquidity. As soon as you identify a range, you're looking at liquidity, right? And that's the only question you need to ask. Where's the liquidity? Very possibly, yeah. Yeah, if we get it, like this being a huge range, which then ideally runs this high out, then yeah, it's probably going to be a monster move. But you notice that when you're on the right side, how violent is the movement away? Right? I'm not too concerned about the stall price action. I need something taken. We've already taken this and closed above it, so I'm happy with that. Oh, don't do me dirty. Don't do me dirty. I'm definitely going to go break even though. Okay, let's go. Let's get a sweep. Let's get a run. Let's get a run. Let's get a run. Let's get a run. Yes, 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 yes. Go, 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 go. Just in case he does something ridiculous and goes. what? Let's go. Got to close bullish for sure. Stall candle will probably be all right. There we go. There we go. At least this high. Woo. Yep. Yep. Ooh. Oh my.
Order filled.
Nope. Nope. Gap, maybe? Gap, maybe? I think definitely underneath these. We're done with this now. We haven't taken that, so still leaning higher. You guys that like your wombo combo, probably something around here at like 610. I think we'll wait. That's disgusting though. Again, body closure underneath this protected low. We'll probably just call it there, as I don't think I would take anything short, and I'm certainly not going to take it long if it breaks. That's gross that it double dipped that low. People just threw their computer out the window, didn't they? Didn't they? So, narrative-wise, what do we expect to happen? Where should price trade into? It should trade into this. Why? Because it just made a decision to fail. Right? So we expect this movement to put in a new low. If it fails to do that, then we've got another long potential. Right? But can perfectly understand avoiding this entirely. Zoom this out a little bit, see what our next candle is. All right, we're getting consecutive bullish candles. We like that, obviously, for those that are still considering long. Yeah, it certainly did. Okay, here comes our flush from that SNDR. Good. What now, lads? What would make shorts panic? There's your 5. There's your 5. There's your 15. Valid high. Swept underneath the 15-minute candle. That's important. Into that fair... Well, there's no fair value gap actually, but... Valid low would definitely cause a squeeze. I think that you would likely get something that would happen before that. Right? In other words, what you're asking right now is, when do we consider it to be failing to go lower? This is definitely a huge part of that. Strong bearish response after this manipulation area, right? Accumulation, manipulation, flip, trades back in. This should displace lower. We've just had a second consecutive bull bar. Goodbye. and unfortunately not involved in this. Let's see. Do we just get lift off and then taking this high as well? There comes the breakout traders. Boom. Oh, woo. All that and then missed it. All that and then missed it. All that just to miss. Fun times. Not a bad day though. Not a bad day. All right.